What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for MLB Monday, April 25th.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to go over my top DFS picks for today's MLB slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 5-game slate here tonight. So let's take a look at the pitcher position. I like Max Scherzer pitching against the St. Louis Cardinals. Max Scherzer only giving up a .521 OPS versus righties, facing 6 righties here tonight. And on top of that, the Cardinals have only hit 26 of his last 137 pitches. That's a 190 batting average and a huge sample size. Max Scherzer is $10,800 FanDuel salary, $1,500 less on DraftKings, averaged 42 fantasy points per game on the season last year, had an ERA of 2.46, and record was 15-4, pitching an average of 94 pitches per game. So I like Max Scherzer here versus the St. Louis Cardinals. Now I also like Walker Buehler pitching against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Walker Buehler, he's a somewhat balanced pitcher here. I mean, he's a balanced pitcher. He's got a good OPS versus all hands, especially versus switch hitters. He pitches his best ball versus switch hitters, only giving up a .398 OPS versus switch hitters, facing 2 switch hitters here tonight. But I like this pick because the Diamondbacks have only hit 20 of his last 103 pitches. That's a 194 batting average and a big sample size. He's $9,400 FanDuel salary, $600 less on DraftKings, averaged 38 fantasy points per game on the season last year, had an ERA of 2.47, record is 16-4 on the season, pitching an average of 93 pitches per game. So I like Walker Buehler here versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, if you want to save some salary at the pitcher position, he's in a pretty good spot here. Even though he's facing a pretty good team, he has done very well versus this team. So take a look at Jose Barrios with an 8% pitching advantage over the Boston Red Sox. These splits are fantastic. Jose Barrios only giving up a .540 OPS versus righties, pitches his best ball versus righties by a pretty big margin, and he's facing 6 righties here tonight. And on top of that, the Red Sox have only hit 26 of his last 106 pitches. That's a 245 batting average and a pretty big sample size. And Jose Barrios is only $7,800 FanDuel salary and $2,300 less on DraftKings. So I love that salary on both sites. He averaged 34 fantasy points per game on the season last year, had an ERA of 3.52, record was 12-9, pitching an average of 95 pitches per game. So I like Jose Barrios as a low salary pitcher with a lot of upside here versus the Boston Red Sox. Okay, let's take a look at the catcher first base position. I like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with a 29% batting advantage over Nathan Eovaldi. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. batting 11% better versus righty pitchers, batting a 1.054 OPS versus righties. Nathan Eovaldi pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a .727 OPS versus righties. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is 4 for 14, 286 batting average. Now only a .661 OPS versus Eovaldi. All those 4 hits were just singles, but I do love the splits here. And he's $4,200 FanDuel salary, $1,400 more on DraftKings. Averaged 13 fantasy points per game on the season last year. Has a batting average of .311. So I like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. here versus Nathan Eovaldi. Now I also like Max Muncy. The splits are not great here, but he's got a good batter versus pitcher matchup. So Max Muncy is batting a .874 OPS versus righties. Merrill Kelly is giving up a .656 OPS versus lefties. But I like this pick because Max Muncy is 8 for 18, batting a .444 batting average and a 1.141 OPS versus Kelly. He's $3,200 FanDuel salary, $1,900 more on DraftKings, averaged 12 fantasy points per game on the season last year, has a batting average of .249. So I like Max Muncy here versus Merrill Kelly. Now just real quick, if you're looking for a super cheap play on both sites, take a look at Jason Castro. He's only $2,000 FanDuel salary, only $300 more on DraftKings, and he's got good splits here versus Dane Dunning. Jason Castro is batting a .757 OPS versus righties. That's 32% better than his batting versus lefties. And Dane Dunning giving up a .764 OPS versus lefties. No at-bats here versus Dunning yet. And his batting average is only .235, but he's just so super cheap, and the splits are good. So if you're looking for that low salary play versus a low salary pitcher, take a look at Jason Castro here versus Dane Dunning. Okay, so another player that I like at this position is Will Smith with a 43% batting advantage over Merrill Kelly. Will Smith is batting 22% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .935 OPS versus righties, and Merrill Kelly pitches his worst ball versus righty batters, 21% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .833 OPS versus righties. And Will Smith has slapped the S out of Kelly. He's 6 for 11, batting a .545 batting average and a 1.524 OPS versus Kelly. Will Smith is $3,700 FanDuel salary, $1,000 more on DraftKings, averaged 10 fantasy points per game on the season last year, and he has a batting average of .258. I almost broke down and laughed on that one, guys. I was trying to be serious. Will Smith really does slap the S out of Kelly. So I like Will Smith here versus Merrill Kelly.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. I like Marcus Semien batting against Framber Valdez. Marcus Semien batting a .783 OPS versus lefties. Framber Valdez giving up a .662 OPS versus righties. So the splits aren't great here, but Marcus Semien is 3 for 6, batting .500 with a 1.571 OPS versus Valdez. Then he's only $3,300 FanDuel salary and only $900 more on DraftKings. averaged 13 fantasy points per game on the season last year, has a batting average of 265. So I like Marcus Semien here versus Framber Valdez. Now I also like Nick Solak with a 9% batting advantage over Framber Valdez. Nick Solak batting 14% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .725 OPS versus lefties. Framber Valdez giving up a .662 OPS versus righties. And Nick Solak is 3 for 9, batting a .333 batting average and a .666 OPS versus Valdez. All three of those hits were singles, but he's only $2,600 FanDuel salary, $500 more on DraftKings, averaged 8 fantasy points per game on the season last year, has a batting average of .242. So I like Nick Solak here versus Framber Valdez. Now another value play that I like on this slate, even though he's going up against a good pitcher, is Tyler Wade with a 24% batting advantage over Shane Bieber. Tyler Wade batting a .658 OPS versus righties, but Shane Bieber is giving up a .945 OPS versus lefties, pitches his worst ball versus lefty batters, 35% worse than his other pitches. Tyler Wade is 2 for 3 with a .667 batting average and a 1.667 OPS versus Bieber. Only $2,500 FanDuel salary, $300 more on DraftKings. Now, this is a high-risk, high-reward value play here. Only averaged 4 fantasy points per game on the season last year, but he does have a batting average of .268, and I like the splits. So I like Tyler Wade as a value play here versus Shane Bieber. Okay, let's take a look at the third base position. So the splits are good here. The player versus pitcher matchup, not so great. But I like Rafael Devers with a 55% batting advantage over Jose Barrios. Rafael Devers batting 20% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .952 OPS versus righties. Jose Barrios pitching his worst ball versus lefty batters, 35% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .832 OPS versus lefties. Now, Rafael Devers is 4 for 18, batting a .222 batting average and a .778 OPS versus Barrios. But when he has been able to hit or get a hit, 3 of those were doubles and the other one was a home run. So Rafael Devers is $4,000 FanDuel salary, $500 more on DraftKings, averaged 12 fantasy points per game on the season last year, has a batting average of .279. So I like Rafael Devers here versus Jose Barrios.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Now, probably one of my favorite plays on the slate. He really sticks out here for his salary and his matchup. Take a look at Justin Turner with an 18% batting advantage over Merrill Kelly. Justin Turner is batting a .818 OPS versus righties, and Merrill Kelly pitches his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a .833 OPS versus righties, 21% worse than his other pitches. And Justin Turner is 7 for 15, batting a .467 batting average and a .971 OPS versus Kelly. He's only $3,100 FanDuel salary, $1,100 more on DraftKings, averaged 10 fantasy points per game on the season last year, has a batting average of 278. So I like Justin Turner here versus Merrill Kelly. Okay, who do we have at the shortstop position? I like Corey Seager with a 15% batting advantage over Framber Valdez. Corey Seager batting a .872 OPS versus lefties. Framber Valdez pitching his worst ball versus lefties, giving up a .695 OPS versus lefties. And Corey Seager is 3 for 4, batting a .750 batting average and a 2.050 OPS versus Valdez. He's only $3,100 FanDuel salary. Now he is $2,200 more on DraftKings, so I love that FanDuel price. Averaged 11 fantasy points per game on the season last year with a batting average of .306. So I like Corey Seager here versus Framber Valdez. Okay, moving on to the outfield position. I like Mookie Betts with a 20% batting advantage over Merrill Kelly. Mookie Betts batting a .869 OPS versus righties. Merrill Kelly pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a .833 OPS versus righties. And Mookie Betts is 4 for 12 with a .333 batting average and a 1.250 OPS versus Kelly. 2 of those hits were home runs. He's $4,000 FanDuel salary, $900 more on DraftKings, averaged 12 fantasy points per game on the season last year with a batting average of .264. So I like Mookie Betts here versus Merrill Kelly. And this is probably another one of my favorite plays on the slate. I like Michael Brantley with a 34% batting advantage over the low salary pitcher Dane Dunning. Michael Brantley batting 37% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .928 OPS versus righties. Dane Dunning giving up a .764 OPS versus lefties. No at-bats versus Dunning yet, but you always get a discount with Michael Brantley when he's going up against righty pitchers, and he's got a great OPS versus righties. Michael Brantley is only $2,600 FanDuel salary, $900 more on DraftKings. I love those splits. Averaged 9 fantasy points per game on the season last year, and he has a batting average of .311. So I think he's a steal on this slate here tonight. So I like Michael Brantley here versus Dane Dunning. I also like Alex Verdugo with a 75% batting advantage over Jose Barrios. Alex Verdugo batting 40% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .906 OPS versus righties. Jose Barrios pitching his worst ball versus lefty batters, 35% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .832 OPS versus lefties. And Alex Verdugo is 5 for 8, batting a .625 batting average and a 1.625 OPS versus Barrios. He's $3,600 FanDuel salary, $300 less on DraftKings, so I like that DraftKings price. Averaged 10 fantasy points per game on the season last year, has a batting average of .289, so I like Alex Verdugo here versus Jose Barrios.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this MLB slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.